morning. Good morning, everyone. I think we're live. Oh, dear me. Carolyn just made me laugh. First of all, she said, what did you say? I look like a preppy? I don't even know what that means. I think it has something to do with the shirt. She says, especially because you wear the collar up. Okay, I've always worn my shirt collars up. And there are always those wonderful, wonderful people who come behind you very gently and they turn your collar down for you because they think that you don't know that it's up. And then I very gently have to pull it back up. I've been living all my life, all my adult life, having to put my shirt collars up because I just like that look better. Anyway, we are muttering away. Are you really interested in what we have to say about shirts? And I don't even know what preppy is, preppiness, except do I look like a schoolgirl or something? I think, what did you say? It looks elite or elitist, which is not so good. Anyway, it is just me, just doing what I'm doing. Good morning, everybody. It's just, I was laughing and now. So, good morning. We first of all say good morning to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who is to my right side. Obviously, Kachoro just had enough. He can't stand all the frivolity. And I was going to say, and here is my little Kachoro, but he's actually cleared off. He's gone over into his favourite spot in the corner of the living room. And to my right, we have Carolyn, who saw fit just before the show, having called me a preppy and an elitist. You didn't. No, not really. She then decided that she'd give me a fanfare as we're coming live. She said, "Do-do-do-do. You can see." Now that sounded more like a cockerel, didn't it, than a trumpet. Hers sounded much more like a trumpet. You can see that we're in one of those moods, can't you? We're in one of those frame of minds where it's hard to take anything seriously. I'm going to jiggle about with this. I don't know how. Can you see how well you can see me? I'm not sure if is that better? Who knows? I've fiddled about. Anyway, Easter is coming, so of course when I do the do, it sounds more like a cockerel. I meant to do it that way, no. Not really. Okay. All right, we have to get serious now, don't we? All right, so you know, there are people who think, and this is really true, there are people who think that people like myself, spiritual mediums, that we're really sort of quite serious, and she's already laughing. And it is true, when I go into places for the first time and people don't know me, they do seem somewhat surprised and on occasion a little shocked that I have a really horrible sense of humour. It's really quite wicked. It's a British sense of humour. We can be often seen to be sarcastic, but it's not really sarcasm. It's just a weird sense of humour. I'm rambling on about nothing at all. I spoke to my grandson last night. He was so cute. We now have this thing going. He'll say to me, I love you. I'll say at night time, I love you, darling. He'll say, I love you too. And I say, I love you more. And he'll say, no, I love you more. And on we go. And it keeps going for a while. It often keeps going for longer than 5 minutes, at which point my daughter cuts us off and says, that's enough. It's bedtime. But the other night he said to me, no, really, Mosey, truly, really and truly, this is really, really true. I really and truly do love you more. So now we're at the stage where I really and truly love you more. And he'll say, no, 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 I really and truly love you more. And then last night he said to me, you started it. I said, certainly I did. Anyway, apropos of nothing at all. Shall we have a question, Carolyn? Let's go in. Let's do what we're supposed to be doing here.
Well, Well, Twiggy Leaf says,
good morning, Twiggy Leaf.
I love when you wear your collar up. I think it makes you look mystical and magical.
Oh, Twiggy. Thank you. The last thing I ever try to look is mystical and magical, but you know, people see what they want to see, don't they? Like, oh gosh, got to stop. Why I'm laughing? I don't know why I'm laughing. This could
Low blood sugar.
is that what it is?
Yes.
Oh, give me that milk.
You
Then.
were
I was
a little
so
hungry.
so hungry. My tummy's rumbling. I did have some breakfast this morning, but I'm going to be sipping my milk now while Carolyn, do you want to get
Sure.
Are there any other comments before we get going on anything else? You can say what you like, everyone. It's fine. And do you know what, Twiggy? I love comments. I love to hear the comments. I like people, as long as they're polite and respectful. You can say anything you want to me. So
Dean says he picked up some crabs so I can make one of Rosemary's recipes, and I can't wait.
well, the only recipe, Dean, that I can think that is in the book, because Dean does have one of the cookbooks. The only thing I can think that I made with crab in there is some really, really delicious and so simple and easy crab cakes. The trick is to make sure that you put just enough Tabasco in, but not so much that it's going to take away the flavor of the crab, because crab is a very delicate flavor, Dean. And I know Dean's penchant for adding more, because when he made the Christmas cake, I think he put in 1.5 bottles of brandy. It's supposed to flavor it and give it this delicate flavor. So watch the heavy-handedness on your Tabasco. Just saying. Right. All right.
Albertine has a question.
Good morning, Albertine.
Good morning. What can the spirit world tell about Ra, god of the sun? Is he a bird, a man, or a myth?
Well, Ra is an ancient Egyptian god. The Egyptians used to worship the sun, and they called the sun Ra. I mean, a lot of primitive cultures, a lot of ancient cultures, not having the science that we have, not having the telescopes, not knowing the world as we know it now, would watch the sun rising. And I don't know if any of you have been to Egypt or been to the Middle East or the Far East. They have some of the most incredible sunsets in the world, and the sky lights up like fire. And so you can imagine, if you are a primitive man and you're not educated, and there are no such things as books even, and only the scribes, the wise men, the men of the church usually were the ones who controlled everyone. Only they would know a little bit more. But even then, when you see the sunrise, you can understand why people would worship the sun and be in awe of the sun, and some of the sunsets we get again. So you can understand where they were coming from, because to them it was the most magical thing. And it just reminds me, it makes me think, when we're talking about this, that how easy it is that most of us, we're so busy on our computers or on our whatever it is we do, on our mechanical stuff, that we don't even see nature anymore. We're not even aware of it anymore. So we don't live in awe in the same way that they used to do before we had all this fantastic and wonderful technology, which has really stripped away all of the joy and the awe of the beauty of the world for so many people. Let's have our next question.
We have Stephanie who wrote in.
Good morning, Stephanie.
I'm an identical twin, alike in just about every way. Here lately, I have been really wondering if our souls are really one, and when we die, our souls will become one again.
This is when people will say to you, the question sort of fits the timing and everything, and this is perfect timing for that question, because I spoke to somebody yesterday. I was giving someone a consultation yesterday, and and they had a twin who had died prior to birth. And it was very interesting because I was talking about the fact that there are such things as twin souls. And the same as an embryo, it will often split. Sometimes it's, you know, we know with twins, sometimes it's 2 eggs and 2 sperm. I don't know how that is, but anyway, 2 eggs. But sometimes it's 1 egg that actually splits. And with the soul, the soul often is created with the same energy, but it will actually, with twin souls, it will actually split like so. You have 2 souls, they grow separately, they grow individually, they have tremendous, incredible energy and beauty and so on and so forth. So they, you know, they grow as much as we feed them, of course, but they are 2 separate, but will always stay together, be around each other and so on, in that spiritual way, in that soul way. So I hope that answers your question. It's a very timely question, actually. There, let's have, are you struggling in there?
No. I was just going to say that Twiggy just posted that it was her, and she had
Twiggy, darling, I didn't like to say anything, but yes, it was you.
And that she is going to tell the class about her twin. She just hasn't sat down to type it out.
Oh,
yet.
That's fine, and you don't have to. I hope she had a great time with me yesterday. I had a great time. Maybe I had a better time than she did. It'd be nice, Twiggy. Now you've mentioned it, how was your consultation? Would you like to tell people how it was or not? It's up to you. Let's have another question.
All right, Kay, your friend Kay said,
good morning, Kay.
Good
morning.
Actually, Twiggy had a question. Have you ever astral traveled to the moon or into space?
Oh, yes, many times. That brings up another little experience that I had. The very first time I was let me rerun that again. I have a friend who lives in Orlando. We used to go from time to time to Disney. And this particular time, it was the very first time I'd been on one of those, you sit in this thing and it jigs and jogs about, but they have this movie playing at the same time. So it feels like you're in space or in wherever it is. And this particular ride was in space. Although you don't go anywhere, they move you, they move the seats, they move everything about and so on. So it feels like you're moving. But as this sort of, let's say, flying through space experience, it sort of whizzed past planets and it whizzed past all sorts of other things. And I did think at one point, wow, this is a little bit like astral travel. I've been astral traveling in space many times. I'm trying to think if I ever been to the moon. I'm not really sure. Can't remember that. So maybe not. But yes, I have astral traveled many times. Let's have our next question.
Alrighty.
I don't know what you're doing in there.
Mary asks.
Good morning, Mary.
I had a divine intervention with the sun. I was given a message. Was it my late grandpa speaking to me or God?
She had a divine intervention with
the sun.
The sun, S-U-N.
Yes.
And
I was given a message.
Right.
Was it my late grandpa speaking to me or was it God?
This is a difficult one. I really want to say to you, what did you feel? Because when you have something like that happen to you, your own soul knows the answer. You know the answer within you. And the first thought that comes to your mind, the first feeling that comes to your mind is usually the right one. But I think that it's very possible that it was your grandfather, but I think with the aid or the help of that God force or that God energy that is around. So as weird as it sounds, it's probably both. Hope that's probably going to confuse you even more. I hope not, though. Let's have another question.
Vicky asks,
Good morning, Vicky.
I'm trying to sell my house, and you had said it would be a very trying time for us and hard to sell. I would like to know if there's an end in sight, and will we be moving forward?
Yes, there is, and yes, you will. But if I said to you that it will be a trying time, and if I said it would take a long while, and obviously it is doing, then try, if you can, darling, to be patient, because the universe works at its own speed. You know, things are meant to happen when it's the right time. And although you probably want to really rush things and push things, I always tell my students, you cannot stand in the river and try to push the river the way it's not supposed to go. You have to stand in the river and go with the flow, so to speak. And I think I can really understand your impatience. I can really understand your frustration. I really can understand all of those things, my love, but it's obviously not the right time. So my advice to you would be to make the most of where you are, make the most of what you're doing now. Try and see the positive in it. It will happen in its right time. And yes, there will be an end to it. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Okay, let's have another question.
Jen has a question.
Morning, Jen.
Hi, Rosemary. You look so stylish and very trendy
Oh,
with your
no,
shirt.
don't you start. We already had that from Carolyn. Preppy.
I'm wondering.
I'm not sure if it means preposterous. Thank you, love. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that. I like this shirt. I was saying I really like this shirt. I like shirts like this because, and actually you probably can't see it, but it's sort of got all ridges in the stripes. I just think it looks so clean. That's what I think. That's why I like it. Thank you very much. Do you have a question?
Yes.
Great. Let's go.
She says, I'm wondering if gay people such as transgender, or if they had a surgery.
Who is this?
This is Jen.
Jen, okay.
Yeah. Will they be the same in the spirit world? And then she says, sorry for the silly question, which I said there's no silly question.
Actually, it's a very good question. And I think there are a lot of people out there who are transgender. There are a lot of people out there who are gay. And there are a lot of people who have these, sort of questions that really do matter to them. So I don't think it's a silly question at all. I think it's actually a really good question. Whatever we are in a physical form, whatever we look like, it's not about what we look like, it's what we feel, and it's what we are within us. And what we are within us is what we will take with us. So I hope that answers your question. I do know, I know people who are who've actually had surgery. I was once invited to talk to a group of people, to visit with a group of people who were actually transvestite. And there was one guy there who had the entire surgical stuff done, which was, I thought, very brave. Whatever works for whoever you are, I certainly have no judgment. You are a beautiful soul, whoever you are. You're a beautiful and clear soul, and that's what you will be when you leave this earth. And whether you are a male and you've had all your bits and pieces chopped off, or whether you're a female, I don't know quite what females do, but anyway, whatever it is you do, and whoever it is you are, and whatever color you are, you are a beautiful soul, and that's all that matters. Gregor has put his hand on my shoulder to confirm that. And those who are on this earth who are prejudiced, people are prejudiced because something is different than they are, or something seems strange to them, and prejudice is born of fear. And it's really about time in this world of ours now, with all of this technology. It's really about time we stop being fearful of other people being different than we are. And the world is about acceptance. And if you can't accept somebody who's different, and I'm speaking from the heart now because I've grown up being strange, And there was a time when I certainly would have been burned at the stake. You know, that would have been a hot surprise. I mean, you know, I am a beautiful soul. My soul is beautiful. I try very hard to make it beautiful. Whatever is on the outside doesn't really count. It is what is within you. And what is within you is what you take with you. And there is nobody, I can tell you this for an absolute fact, there is nobody standing at that door saying, you know, you didn't do it properly. So, you know, off you go, or down there you go, whatever it is. That doesn't happen. It doesn't work. And so all of you out there who may or may not be listening, who are, you know, prejudiced in some way or another about somebody else's beliefs and somebody else's, you know, way of life, get a grip and start and be more open and more loving. That's what I say. How about that? See, you see, that was such a good question. It wasn't a silly question at all. Let's go for another question.
Jen says, wow, thank you so much, Rosemary. Great.
You're welcome.
Chris asks,
good morning, Chris.
When an event happens that seems to reach/affect people worldwide, such as the fire at Notre Dame, does it signify a spiritual event and a lesson for us all? Is there a message for us?
No, I don't think so. I mean, things happen. You know, we don't treat our world very well, do we? So things happen. We don't nurture the world. We don't even, you know, think too much about it. Most of us, you know, we turn on the tap and there's water coming out. We're happy, aren't we? If we turn on the TV set and it works, we don't think about it. I actually turned my TV on the other day and it would not work. I'm thinking, what's going on? Like it was a big catastrophe, which it isn't really, because I rarely watch TV anyway. But things happen around the world. What is significant is that when tragedies happen, and we can think of so many of them, from, you know, the wars that people, some wars are still raging, but the First and Second World War, when we think about, you know, the Twin Towers, we can go on and on. I think that what can happen is that, you know, we all of a sudden get together, we come together as the human race and we try and help each other, and we become much more spiritual throughout the world. We become much more spiritual and much more aware, and there's a unity and a joining of souls, and people are much more aware of them, become much more aware of themselves, and much more aware of this, you know, this sort of tenuous hold that we have on this life here. Unfortunately, though, I mean, just take the Twin Towers. You could, when you walk down the streets of New York, traffic honking, people are impatient, people literally leaning out of car windows, yelling at each other if the traffic's bad or what have you. People cramming, and the car horns, you know, are crazy. During 9/11, after 9/11, and for, I'm going to say, for about 2 years, that it wasn't like that. People were more subdued, people were more thoughtful, people were kinder to each other. People had all of a sudden had that, you know, that realization, let's say an epiphany, if you like, that life is, you know, short. You never know when it's going to end. You never know what's going to happen. And people were much more respectful of each other. Unfortunately, you go to New York today, years after, and it's the same, honking, all the rest of it, because we forget. We do. We just forget. We are human. But when world events, catastrophes or whatever do happen, I think there is that time, however long that time lasts, when all of a sudden most of us become aware of our own vulnerability, and we start to think much more about, you know, not necessarily our spiritual welfare, but certainly, because a lot of people don't believe in that, but certainly we start to become much more, we become kinder, we become more respectful, we become nicer people, for however long it lasts. Let's have another question.
Marlene, right?
Do we have any comments? I'd love to have some comments.
Well, Mary says, yes, I totally agree that it was both. God and my grandfather.
Oh, right.
The message was that God is in our everything, especially our sun, because the sun is enormous, therefore God is in everything.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anything else?
Nope, Jen has just said, wow, thank you. But I get that.
Okay, right.
All right,
Another
so
question?
yes, Marlene asks.
Good morning, Marlene.
Rosemary, my mom, who has been very ill and seems she will be passing very soon. She has always been terrified of dying. Is my dad with her? Will she pass before I get to her? I'm heartbroken.
Oh, Marlena, my heart goes out to you with this. I mean, I was not fortunate enough to have a mother who, I mean, hang on a minute. Let me do that again. When I look at my daughter, I'm very fortunate not to have had a mother who loved me. Yeah, that's right. Which made me very aware as a child and growing up how important it was to have that feeling of being loved, because I never had that feeling. I never knew what that feeling was. But when I had my daughter in my tummy, the only thing I was worried about and would ask about, and I would, say to God, please help me. I don't want to be a mother like my mother. What can I do? And it eventually came back to me. The answer came back to me, and the answer was, it's not enough to love your children. You have to give them the knowledge, the absolute knowledge within themselves, with no doubts whatsoever, that you love them. And I know that my daughter has no doubts, even when she thinks I'm being mean to her, even when I was tough with her as a child, whatever it is, she has absolutely no doubts that I love her, and that was the only gift that I could give to her. And obviously, your mum has given you that same gift. You know that she loves you, and that you love her too. It is very hard. I don't know what to say to you. You will be heartbroken, because although your mother will be fine and she will go at the end, it'll be so peaceful for her and so nice for her and so easy. Don't worry if you're not there, because sometimes it's very much harder for someone to pass into the spirit world if they've got someone there who they want to stay with. So they get a little bit torn between, wanting to stay and wanting to go. So don't worry. If you're meant to be there with her, you will be. Take every moment of the time that you've got left to hold each other, and take every moment to show her or to say to her in the smallest of ways that you love her, and you'll see her again. I know that doesn't help right now, but she'll be watching you, and she'll be watching over you, so you won't lose her. She'll just be gone for a little while. She'll be gone on a vacation, perhaps, for a little while. Try and look at it that way if you can. I can't imagine. I know that my daughter will be devastated when something happens to me. Of course, it's going to. And I'm trying to do the best I can with her, even now, by just every day. Every day I talk to my grandson. 3 times yesterday, I think it was. Every day I talk to my daughter, sometimes 2 or 3 times, sometimes more in a day. Try if you can. There's such a thing as Skype. There's FaceTime. I'm fortunate I get to talk to my grandson every night before bedtime. And so, try and make the most of the time you have left. Try not at this moment to waste the time you have by being afraid, or by spending all of that time and energy worrying about what you're going to do without her. Spend the time you have in a positive way with her. There's time after she's gone for you to do all that other stuff. My heart goes out to you, darling. You'll be fine and she'll be fine. It's going to hurt, though. There's nothing I can do about that. Let's have another question.
Sharon asks.
Good morning, Sharon.
Good morning, Rosemary. Does Gray Eagle feel the same emotions that we do? Does he get grouchy, angry, or sad? Or is he above emotions?
Well, he's certainly not above emotions. We laugh a lot. I'm sure that I'm asking him. I'm sure that he is sad often, probably because of me, because I've got to be the worst student in the world. He's laughing at me. And I know that sometimes I say things or do things that he perhaps wouldn't approve of. And I know that that makes him sad. I've never seen him angry. I've never seen any of those emotions. I think that he's above the negatives or rises above the negatives. I'm asking him. He's just put his hand on my shoulder. He is a highly evolved spiritual being. Not at all without emotion, but just much more understanding. So where, we might get angry or frustrated with someone because we don't always see the whole story. We don't see the other side of it. We don't know why that person has gotten angry. Once we know the story of a person, we can often, be more understanding, be more respectful, accept that, well, no wonder he's angry because he's been through this and this and so on. So Greg already knows those things. He's so much more tolerant and so much more loving than I. Not sure, so much more loving. Yeah, he's just a highly evolved being with a trillion emotions, but understanding them. Let's have another question.
We're plumb out of questions at the moment.
Plumb out of questions. And we're only halfway through the show. What's going on? Well, that's it then. Shall we quit? Shall we quit while we're ahead? All right.
I went through. We've asked them all.
Well,
Dean did say, he laughed and he said, "You're right. I was really thinking of adding more Tabasco to the crab cakes."
When you're cooking, you're supposed to taste. So put in what I've suggested. Taste a little bit, but crab has, this has now become a cooking show. crab has such a delicate flavor, and you don't want to ruin it. You can't really, although I'm thinking, there are lots of Creole recipes with seafood which are very highly spiced, so it depends. It's everybody likes it more than, different than other people. So you've got to just try it and taste it. However, be careful, because tasting could end up that you've got nothing for the crab cakes because you've eaten all the crab in the bowl, which certainly I can do anytime. I love crab. I just love it. I love any kind of seafood. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, we do. Quite a few came in.
Come on then, let's go. Let's get this thing going.
Sharon said, "Thank you for clarifying that, and thank you, Grey Eagle, for sharing. You're both much appreciated." Ave asks,
"Good morning, Ave.
Hi, Rosemary. Some strange questions from me. Do they sleep?
We'll take any question that you've got.
Do they sleep in the spirit world, or are they awake all the time?"
I think it's not a question of going to bed and going to sleep. That's a good question, actually. It's not a question of going to bed and going to sleep. It's a question of learning to build up your energy. It's learning to do things that create more energy. And there are resting times when you're just, perhaps sitting quietly, rethinking, going over stuff, whatever it is they do there. But actually going to bed, covering yourself up in the blankets, I don't know. I'm asking Greg, or no, definitely not. But resting and building your energy and creating energy so that because it is only the physical body that actually needs the rest. And it is only the physical body, when we don't get that rest, the physical body starts to ache and creak and groan and do all of those things. As we don't have a physical body, the etheric body is totally indestructible. We don't need the same sleep, but we do need rest, and we do need rest from our thoughts. We need rest from certain activities. So sometimes that rest comes in the form of doing something else that is perhaps less strenuous. Good question. I like that question, actually.
Lots of questions are coming in.
I should think so. What have you all been doing? Sitting twiddling your thumbs and just listening there? Come on, participate. Valvacious, good morning. I wonder what that really means, valvacious. I like it, though.
My father was a good provider, but a terrible husband.
Yeah.
He was very abusive to my mom. I want to know why he was so evil. Does he know why? Was it a chemical imbalance or something?
I'm asking Gregor this question because I know that your situation, Valvacious, is one that many people have experienced. And my father was never abusive to my mother, and I don't think he ever thought he was abusive to us. He was just you know, he was an army man. You did what you were told when you were told, and if you didn't stand to attention, you were put on parade. That was how it was in my house. I think, let me speak generally first of all. I think that there are a lot of people, men and women, who, because of their own situations, their own childhood, they never have the opportunity to learn to be different. Your father maybe grew up in an abusive home, and that was what he learned. There's all this question of nature versus nurture. Are you like this? And you use the word evil, and I'm not quite sure the word evil applies here, because if he was a good provider, then he wasn't so evil. He just sounds to me like a man in torment. And we all of us have choices in life. Some of us choose to continue the way we see our families have continued, and some of us choose not to. And I already mentioned about a father and a mother who never, I know now and knew before my father died that my father loved me, but the way that he showed it was not the way that you would perhaps like for a father to show you love. But I know that my mother considered me to be, that one child, because she just didn't have it in her to love. And is that wicked? I don't think it's wicked. I think it's a human. Of course, being on the receiving end of it isn't nice. But with your father, I think that he chose to be, as his parents or grandparents gave him their examples, he chose to continue with those examples. I was once in a courtroom, and the person who was on trial tried to say that she did all these awful things because she was abused as a child. And my answer to that is, no, that isn't so at all. We all have choices. Now, I remember saying to the judge, I was abused as a child in so many different ways. But I'm very lucky that I had that abuse. I'm very lucky that I had that childhood, because that example taught me how not to be. So you have choices, and unfortunately your father made a very bad choice. But I think that even though he abused your mother, and there is no excuse for it at all, I'm not excusing him, but I'm saying to you that I think that abuse, that temper, that fury that he often unleashed, Greg was talking to me now, so I hope you understand what it is I'm saying to you, was born from his own inadequacies, his own frustrations, his example, and I think he must have been a dreadfully, dreadfully unhappy person. I know that doesn't make things right, but people who lash out, people who are mean to other people, they are the most unhappy people, I think, ever. And so I'm hoping, darling, that you learned how not to be. By that example, you learned how not to be. And obviously you have tremendous sympathy and empathy for your mother. And, so it seems to me that you're on the right show, and you're doing the right thing, and you should be proud of yourself for that. We can take our good examples from our parents or not. We can take our bad examples from our parents or not. And trust me, we all, as parents, give bad examples. I know I have from time to time with my daughter, not always being patient as I should be, and so on. We're human. But we learn by those examples. We take them, we learn how not to be, or we continue down that awful, awful road, which only leads to our devastation and our misery and our unhappiness at the end of the day. So we have to rise above it. I'm grateful to my parents. I know people think it's a weird thing. Some people think, well, how can you forgive them? It's not a question of forgiving. It's a question of accepting they were as they were, and they chose to be that way. I choose from my example and having felt the hurts and the pains. And this is what I do find difficult with people who choose to carry on and, like somebody who's beaten themselves as a child or abused as a child who then abuse another child. I find it hard because those of us who have been abused know how it feels, and we should never put that feeling onto another human being ever. Unfortunately, we're human and we don't always behave in the ways that we should. I feel like I've given everybody a lecture there. I'm going to stop talking now, but try not to be too hard on him. It's difficult, but I'm sure he has his own hurts and pains and heartaches and all the rest of it. So when you think about him, try and think of the positives, because he did provide well for you all and so on, as you've said. That's it. I'm done. Next question.
Mary asks, I love Grey Eagle. Does he love me?
Oh, he's laughing. It's a very simple answer, Mary. You see, you notice I'm hesitating here. But the simple answer is, and this is from Grey Eagle, when you are love, when you are filled with love, the love of God, and when you are filled with the light of God, that love spreads out to all. And my love, he says, spreads out to all who want it. So if you want it, you've got it, Mary. So I think the answer is yes. Another question.
Twiggy Leaf is asking,
yes.
Do those in the spirit world need a home? Do they have things they need to store?
No. I love you, darling, but no, because, okay, I don't know, I laugh at people who, not really laugh at them, but people who hoard stuff or have loads of stuff or they collect loads of stuff. It's like, how many pairs of shoes can you wear at one time? Or how many pairs of shoes can you wear in a year? Or how many blouses or what have you? But there are people who, they derive a great satisfaction from owning things, owning stuff, because it makes them feel perhaps more secure or what have you. And, for whatever reason, but you can't take it with you. That old adage, you can't take it with you, and you really can't. So the only things we take with us are our thoughts, our energy, what is going on within us. We are not going to a material world. So anything that is material, which is of this world, is, we can't take it with us. So that's why I say to people, share what you have. I am terrible. I've got more clothes than I know what to do with. I wear them. I do wear them, actually, most of them. And I give loads away all the time. I've got a friend coming from Canada, and I told her bring an extra suitcase, because the stuff I give away is like new, because I'm very careful with my clothes. I've got clothes that go back 20 years. Actually longer, which you would never know. They look like new, right, Carolyn? You've seen some of that stuff. Yes. And some of it I hold on to, but most of it I give it away. I give it to Goodwill or wherever it will go. So we can't take it with us. Having said that, my daughter does not get my jewelry till I've gone, just because I like my jewelry. That's all I'm saying to that, because I can't take it with me, can I? Next question. Do we have any more questions?
Jen asks,
yes.
What does Grey Eagle feel about Easter and Holy Week?
Well, it's very interesting, because I have a special, I like to think that I have a special relationship with Christ. When I was younger, from the age of about 2 or so, I was sent off to church along with my 3 sisters. two older ones and one younger. And we were sent off to church on a Sunday afternoon, every single Sunday afternoon, to Sunday school. Not because my mother was a religious person or what have you, but because that was when the Sunday afternoon movie was on, in the days when, you know, you didn't have a trillion channels, you only had two or something. And that was when the Sunday afternoon movie was on. And also it was her only chance to get respite from all of us. So we would be sent off to Sunday school. But I loved Sunday school. And through Sunday school, and I went to Sunday school until I was 18 years old, and then I actually moved away from the area. But my church was my home, and the people in that church, the elders of that church, were my family. The church was called the Church of Christ. And I went back to visit it a few years ago, and you should never go back. It was a bit disappointing. The house next door used to be the manse, and it wasn't anymore. The church wasn't the same church anymore, and so on and so forth. But while I was growing up, the people in that church were my home. They were where I received love. They were where I received caring. I became a Sunday school teacher when I was 14 years old. And, you know, I was very involved in the church. What was the question, actually? Oh, what does Grey Eagle think about this? So he's with me on this. And I do believe that there was a man by the name of Jesus Christ who was a great healer, who lived on this earth all of those many years ago and who was crucified. I believe that. Do I believe that he was the one and only Son of God? I think we're all sons and daughters of God. He was certainly a very, very special person. And I think there are other very special people who have been on this earth. I used to talk to Christ all the time, still do. But used to talk to him about anything and everything. I would walk the streets because I didn't like to go home so much, but I would walk the streets even when it was cold and freezing and all that. I would walk the streets and I would talk to him and ask him things and so on. And every Sunday I would obviously talk to him. We had a big wooden cross. What does Grey Eagle think to that? He approves. Christ still to this day will help me if I'm putting my hands on someone, giving healing to someone. I will often feel his hands over mine. I've had visits from him. I've actually seen him. I write about some of those visits in I think in the Eagle and the Rose. And obviously Grey Eagle is my guide. Just, you know, just because we are Christian, and I certainly am Christian. In other words, I do believe in that man named Jesus Christ. I do believe it was a very special human being, very special soul. Doesn't negate all of the other religious beliefs, because we can embrace all of those that we like, that support us. And Grey Eagle is all for that. Absolutely. I think I've answered that question thoroughly. Next question.
Martha would like to know.
Morning, Martha.
How do you feel about Notre Dame's fire?
As I would feel about any tragedy. It's a tragedy, but, you know, there are catastrophes happening all over the world. Do I feel it's any more of a catastrophe than any other? Not really. I think each catastrophe, you know, down the street from you, Martha, there might be a family who have just lost a child. Do I feel that is more, do I feel that Notre Dame is more of a catastrophe? I don't. I think that each of us goes through our catastrophes in our own way. And, you know, we're all, every tragedy, I can never say that word, every trauma, every tragedy is a tragedy that if it touches our hearts, it's important to us, and it's no more or less important than any other. So I think that Grey Eagle is totally with me on that one. And that's how I feel. And I feel that also, you know, these big world events and these big things that make the news, it's a shame that they get more of our attention, because there's someone around the corner from you who really needs some attention and isn't getting any, because nobody knows of the existence of that person, except maybe their immediate family. So, I think we should try and look outside of ourselves more, and to our neighbours and to our friends, because every day there's a tragedy of one sort or another.
Roxanne says,
Morning, Roxanne.
Good morning. Thank you for your grief videos. I heard a voice say, he went to another level. My son, my imagination?
No, definitely not your imagination, and you know that. Well, you don't need me to tell you this, do you? That other level, I think, is, leaving this earth plane and sort of arriving. And it could well mean that he is now settled. It could mean that he's found a place where he wants to be, or something that he would like to do, or a place that he wants to explore. So it could mean many things. But I think most of all, it means that he is safe and well. That's what I think. And for all of you out there, and certainly for the person who asked about Easter, I will be celebrating Easter in my own way. And, I went to a church that was called the Church of Christ. Every Easter, we used to have wonderful, wonderful services, and all the children in the church were given a single daffodil to take home to their mothers on Easter Sunday. We'd go on Easter Sunday, and then somebody would hand out the daffodils, because it's springtime, isn't it? So, every time I see daffodils, they make me smile. Let's go to another question. Do we have another question?
Yes. If I'm skipping over your questions, calm down. I'll get to them.
We're trying our best. She's doing her best here. We don't have Al this week, so I'm not sure if Al makes it better or worse, actually, having two of you do it. But she's doing her best.
Let's see. Vera asks,
Good
and I'm
morning,
trying to
Vera.
get people that haven't asked a question to ask a question.
Yeah,
before we
so
go
she's
into
having
that.
to scroll, and of course I don't see your questions, and even if they were scrolling on my screen, I wouldn't probably be able to see them. I'd be peering at the screen, which would be no use to anybody either.
So Vera asks,
Good morning, Vera.
if I go to my mother's grave and my grandmother's cemetery and I talk to them, can they hear me?
Oh yes, of course they can. But let me just say this. They'll go with you when you visit the grave, and they'll leave with you when you leave, because they're not in there. You know that, don't you? So when you're at home, when you're in the kitchen making a cup of tea or coffee or whatever it is, when you're playing with the kids or the dogs or the cats or the whatever you have, anywhere you go and everywhere you go, they can hear you. Our loved ones in the spirit world will hear as they'll come and visit us often. And they'll hear and they'll see what we're up to. But as far as going to the grave, please don't take flowers to the grave. This is a question. This is a request from those in the spirit world, which I've heard again and again. We go to the grave, we lay the flowers down on the grave, we talk to our loved ones, and then we leave, and we leave the flowers behind. Our loved ones leave with us. Who gets the flowers? Nobody gets the flowers. So if you'd like to buy flowers for your loved ones in the spirit world, and I'm going to turn that off there. Sorry. So if you'd like to buy flowers for your loved ones, because it is after all Easter, you can do one of two things. Plant something in the garden for them, if you've got a garden. Put something in there that's special for them that will come back year after year, so you'll need a perennial something. Or if you really do want to buy flowers, buy those flowers, find a really nice vase and put them by the side of the photo of the one you love who is in the spirit world, so that you can all enjoy them, because they're with you. They're not in the grave. And that should make you feel great. When my father passed, I planted a cherry tree, a malus. It's called a malus. It's got like a red bark to it and a deep pink cherries, deep pink blossoms. Gorgeous thing. And then I had to leave there. So then when I moved to Vermont, I planted another one. Wherever I go, I plant one. I haven't planted one here because I'm still looking, and I don't know Florida weather, whether it'll survive or not. But always I like to plant a tree or a perennial bush or flowers that come up every single year, so that we can remember our loved ones and they remember us. I used to stand by that cherry tree, which grew huge, by the way, no, and talked to my dad. But that didn't mean that he didn't follow me back into the house, into the kitchen. Of course he did. Right.
Teresa has a
Morning,
question.
Teresa.
Good morning, Rosemary. I have 5 adult children, usually always close, but since their dad passed away 12 months ago, they have become mean-spirited. What can I do to help them?
Well, loss is a painful thing. And when you say they become mean-spirited, they're probably all struggling in their own way with grief. I think one of the ways is to you should have a party. If they're all close to you, how lovely for you. You should have a party, a birthday party for your husband, or just have a celebration party where, you make a nice cake, or say I'm the cook, say I'm going to say that, or do something with the family, go on a picnic or go on a favorite place, take them all to the park or something, plan outings where they're all together. And when they're all together, find an opportunity to just say to them, your dad would love to see you all together and happy together, just how we used to be. And he doesn't like to hear you biting at each other or snapping at each other, so pack it in. Just say that. And eventually they'll sort themselves out. I think it's very difficult. And I think, with families, and especially with bigger families, they're all wondering, well, he liked me more than he liked you. Well, sort of thing. Well, dad was closer to me, or I was closer to dad, and then somebody else resents that fact. Just because one child thinks dad was closer to them doesn't mean that he's not close. I had a friend who, there were 5 children, and their mother, he told me that their mother used to make each individual child think that they were the special one. So they all believed that they were the special one. It was a gift to them from their mother. It was that she was able to do that. So, just tell your children it's not nice. Nobody should be mean. Tell them to pack it in.
Jennifer would like to know.
Yes, Jennifer.
I would like to know if the spirit worlds know our thoughts and emotions.
Oh, without a doubt. Thoughts are living things.
Yeah, the name of the show is The Spirit World Sees All.
The Spirit, yeah, thank you. Yeah, look, the name of the show is The Spirit World Sees All. But thoughts are living things. Thoughts are tiny pulses of energy which go out into the universe. They reach that person we're thinking about, and then they come back to us. So it's very important, like a boomerang, our thoughts come back. They belong to us. That's our energy that is going out there, and that's our energy that's coming back. And, when we're talking about building good energy, we're talking about having really good thoughts that go out, because as our thoughts go out, it's sort of like a snowball effect. They'll go out into the universe and collect, like attracts like, they will collect that same energy. If that energy is negative, they'll collect negative energy. If it's positive energy, they collect positive energy. It reaches the person it's meant to reach, and it comes back like the snowball, or like, that's like gathering moss, carrying. So when it comes back to you, it's twice as powerful than it was when you sent it out. If it's negative energy, twice as powerful negative. Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to others. But if it's positive energy, absolutely. But do your loved ones see and hear? When I realized that not only could they see what I was doing, that they could actually read the thoughts in my head, so to speak. I can remember walking around thinking, oh, I can't think that. No, shouldn't think that. Just like, because sometimes we're on our own and we're thinking, well, it wasn't fair that so and so did that, or that butcher was really mean to me today. And you start, then all of a sudden, wait a minute, they can hear. This is a bit unnerving, but you get used to it.
Marlene has a wonderful question.
Yes, Marlene.
One of the first things I want to do when she passes is find a magnificent lion and wrap my arms around his neck. Will we be able to interact with the wild animals? I'm thinking I won't be eaten. I'd really like to know this as well. That's a great question.
Yes. Yeah, we do interact with our animals. It's usually the animals that we have affection for, or that we have built a rapport with, or we've had a relationship with. And I once, I think I've told this story once before on this show. I did once. A woman came to see me. She wanted to connect with her husband, and I saw this man quite clearly. Looked like a husband. Said he was a husband, but the weird thing was that he had a goose. Carried a goose, one under each arm, like so. These geese were big, and they were fat. They were huge. And I looked at him. I'm thinking, what on earth is going on? And he's laughing. He's saying, "You got to tell her that I've got the geese." So, as weird as it might sound, I said to her, "Well, there is a man here, but you're probably going to think I'm crazy, but he's carrying a goose under each arm." And she burst into tears, absolutely burst into tears. For years and years and years, geese live a long time, let me tell you. For years and years and years, they had a farm, a small farm. And these two geese were pets, and they were like guard dogs, just like somebody else would have a guard dog. And these two geese were extremely special, and they died apparently not long after a husband died. And, you know, it was all the proof she needed. It was all that, you know, I know he's there, I know he's fine, and I know he's got the geese. I don't remember the name of the geese, I'd love to tell you. But yes, we do connect with our animals. The idea of wrapping your arms around a lion, nice. Yeah. And he won't want to eat you because you won't be meat anymore. You won't be flesh anymore. Just mentioning that. Yes.
Your friend Jeff.
Good morning, Jeff.
This is in response to, will we need storage in heaven? Or the afterlife.
Okay, let's hear this. This is going to be good.
He said, a good friend told me that he'd never seen a hearse towing a U-Haul.
Oh, Jeff, thank you for that. That's so good. And but while I've got you on, I don't know if your friend is still with us or he wants to do an Everything is Attitude. I was thinking about it this morning. I think I missed the window, but you know what I'm talking about. Could you just text me or something, or let me know, or call me and let me know later? Thank you. Yes, next question. I really like that.
Terry says,
good morning, Terry.
I will be planting a nice flower by the tree we planted for my son. His birthday falls on Easter this year. And I believe Terry was your guest on Everything is Attitude last week.
Terry,
yes.
And let me tell you, oh, what an inspiration you were, Terry. We've had so many views. Jeff, who just was on there a minute ago, loves you, couldn't speak highly enough of you. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Terry came on our show, Everything is Attitude. She lost her son, and such an inspiration, and she gave us such wonderful advice and help for those people who are going through similar losses, or simply for those of us who want to know how to deal with people if a neighbor or a friend or even a family member has such a loss, what we should do. And that's a show worth watching, and you can watch that show on Facebook, I think.
Yes, it's on the Healing.
There you are.
Station, yes.
Go on my Healing Facebook and you can find it. It's worth watching. And Jeff's is also worth watching. They're all actually worth watching. Yes, let's have another question.
Carol asks, and this is Carol.
Carol, good morning, Carol.
This could be the last question.
Yeah.
Rosemary, nice to see you again. Many morning I find that I've dreamt about being with my mother and others at times. So do you think my spirit goes to her during my dreams?
Well, I do know that we travel. Craig is answering this for you. The simple answer is yes. But I was going to elaborate on it and to just to say that we do, you know, when in our sleep state, we do go to where our soul is able to leave our body and to travel. And it's certainly very likely that that's what happens. And we meet our loved ones. You know, we leave our physical body, we leave, we travel, and our loved ones travel to us, and we somehow have this meeting place where we can see each other, talk to each other, hold each other, do all of those things. And it's a very, very powerful experience. I've had that experience more times than I can possibly count. So how wonderful for you. Do we have time for one more question? I think we do, if there is another question. We're just going to keep,
Vivacious.
you know, all of a sudden we don't have questions and all of a sudden we have loads of Vivacious again. Yes.
Can you explain how I can astral project? Also, how to read Akashic records?
No, I can't, because to do that would be very irresponsible of me. If you were my student, I might be able to help and guide you, but that takes weeks, months, even years to make sure that somebody's doing this in a way that is right, and that they're not going to get lost out there, and that they do it in a responsible way. So as much as I would like to help you, my love, the answer is no. However, you can go on YouTube, and I'm sure somebody will tell you just how to do it. You can go on Google and you can find out how to do it. Just because somebody says that they know how to do it and they tell you how to do it doesn't mean that it's real. And you need to be very, very, very careful before you start going on any of these journeys. I'm very strict with my students. I give them a time limit where they need to meditate, because until I can trust that they know what they're doing and they're able to protect themselves and they're able to, do this in a good way, they only can do it unless if I'm sort of, if you like, watching over them, paying attention to them and watching what they're doing so that they don't go off. Be careful. Don't, just because somebody says I can teach you to do it doesn't mean they should, or even that they know what they're doing. And if somebody says to you, oh, I can teach you this in 5 minutes, that's the time when you switch off, because you know they're not real. Another question?
Terry says, thank you. You all helped me with my attitude. And Sarah has a question.
Yes, Sarah.
Does my deceased friend agree with the way I'm raising her dogs?
Without a doubt. And actually, I'm sorry, but Gregor is coming in here. Stop spoiling them. We do tend to spoil our dogs and our cats sometimes, don't we? We do tend to spoil our pets sometimes, but actually, I mean, that's said with some humor. So I think you spoil these animals, my darling. And how lovely of you to take them on. I think that's it. I think we're done. We're at the end of our session. All right. So if you want more of this, join us tomorrow. Again, you'll find me on my Facebook, and I think it's the Healing Facebook. Everything is Attitude with my friend Al, who is often with us on a Thursday morning. So Everything is Attitude. You can find that with me. Just put my name in and type in Everything is Attitude and you'll find us. You can find us for any of the shows that you've missed. You can always go to YouTube and find them. If you want to rewatch this show, or if you want to direct somebody else to watching this show, we're on the YouTube channel. Carolyn will put it up. It'll be live within half an hour or something of this show ending. If you want any more from us, if you want to know about classes, if you want to know about when we're going to do an event. I thought we'd managed to do it in April. We're shooting for May, but we're doing an event where people will be invited. There'll be a small fee and people will be invited to ask questions. And I'm sure I'll be giving messages and talking about my experiences. So that'll be an online event. I've never done one before, so we're going to practice with one, and if it works, we're going to have more of those. If you want to know more about me or my books, especially the new one, which is called A Walk in the Clouds, you can find it on lulu.com/Rosemary Altea. And if you need any more from me, or you want to know any more, you can email me at rosemary@rosemaraltea.com, and Carolyn will deal with your emails. Is there anything else? Have I missed anything else?
No, quick message from Kay. She said, just wanted you to know that the girls are on it.
Thank you. I know exactly what you mean. Got a secret mission going on. Thank you, Kay. And so I think, is that it? I have a feeling we've missed something. I can't think.
Proud Spirit and A Walk in the Clouds are both available as ebooks.
Thank you. We just put Proud Spirit up, and A Walk in the Clouds are on ebook. You can find them on
lulu.com.
lulu.com.
Search your name.
Search my name.
Yes. lulu.com/spotlight/Rosemary Altea.
I thought, didn't we have them up on Apple and
We
Kindle?
do. Well,
and,
yes, but you have to. Yes,
Do you have to go through Lulu to get them?
I actually did.
We don't know. You'll find them on in the Kindle store, hopefully. We don't know how you do it. Isn't that awful? We can't direct you, but Kindle, Apple.
Well, they can all go to Lulu.
If you go to Lulu, you can see what you're
It's the
supposed to
same
do.
price.
They'll tell you same price everywhere.
Yes.
So lulu.com/spotlight/Rosemary Altea. But if you just go to Lulu and you search my name, I'm sure it'll come up there as well. And you'll find all of my books, but the ebooks, you can find them. So it's easier to get an ebook, isn't it? I love my Kindle. I thought it had broken down yesterday, but I got it going again. It's a new one that I love, and I read my Kindle all the time. So anyway, that's just apropos of absolutely nothing at all. Until I see you again, maybe on Everything is Attitude, which is tomorrow, or and every Friday, or next week, or whenever it is. Until I see you again, please have I know there's Instagram. Find me on Instagram. Until then, please have a very, very, very blessed day. I've now got to look for that little arrow. There it is. Have a very wonderful, wonderful Easter, everybody. And have a blessed Easter. And